right, excellent. Thank you everyone for jumping in today. This is a great day to talk about physical fitness, injury prevention in esports, and we have the great pleasure to have Elise Freeman, who is our presenter and kinesiology consultant. She is going to be offering a training today. So anything that is related to kinesiology and physical fitness tied with prevention and injury of esports, she is the expert. So at this moment, allow me to present Elise Freeman.
Thank you, Ruben. So as mentioned, again, my name is Elise Freeman, and we'll be discussing physical fitness and injury prevention in esports. All right, so let's hop right on into it. And as I go transition into the next slide, I want to let you all know that despite it being a virtual setting, I still want to make this as.
You guys give me 1 second. Sorry, the camera arrangement changed when Riley joined. Sorry about that, guys.
No worries.
Okay. Sorry about that.
No worries. All right, perfect. So just to start from the top, everyone. Again, my name is Elise Freeman, and we'll be discussing today physical fitness and injury prevention in esports. So before we dive right on into it, I want to let you guys know that despite the physical distance between us, I want to make this as engaging and as genuine as possible. I will have an opportunity for questions, curiosities, and little comments at the end, but please feel free to utilize the chat box since it is a feature that we have. I'll do my best to take a look at it if I see something pop up, but just in case I don't, at least your question is there and saved towards the end for me to address just in case. So I do have about 30 to 45 minutes I was allotted. My goal is to get everything done in about 30 to 33 minutes or so. That way we have plenty of time for questions and answers afterwards. So let's get right on into it. All right, so we cannot start this conversation without first defining physical fitness. So physical fitness is the ability of your body's systems to work efficiently to allow you to be healthy and perform activities of daily living. So this is very key because physical fitness, although it's summarized into 2 words, it's really broken down into three things. And that's through proper nutrition, physical exercise, and sufficient rest. And that's one thing that you will see as a common theme as I continue to go throughout the presentation. All right. So real quick, I know you guys are seeing my screen. I also see you guys in my top corner. Is it cutting off the slides for you guys at all? No? Okay.
You're good.
All right, perfect. So it's just on my view. All right, so the big question, as an esports athlete, how can exercise and physical fitness help your game as an esports athlete? Because the common thought may think, I'm sitting down, I'm not doing much. How can physical fitness truly help me and improve my game? And my thought would be, I'm glad you asked. So with that being said, some things that you could do, which I'll highlight right here, is that you can increase endurance. So it increases endurance. And even though this is maybe like an easy answer, a simple answer, something that we all know, is actually very crucial because endurance is something that you need to just continue to maintain your gameplay. So it's a thing that could possibly make or break you in a competition. It can even make or break your body. So it's very important that you're mindful of it, and it's very important that you build it so then that way you can sustain. So whether you're practicing for hours on end, or whether you're in a long competition of gameplay, you want to be able to outlast your opponent, number one, and you also want to be stable enough to keep your body going in the manner that you need to. Which actually brings me to my next point, which is longevity. So one of the interesting things that I found out is that the average retirement age of a professional esports athlete is really like the mid-20s. And to me, that's actually really sad, because when I look at other athletes who are in the realms of basketball, soccer, hockey, football, you see Tom Brady, who is in his 40s, still playing a game that he loves because his body allows him to do so, which is amazing. But when I look at the retirement age of esports athletes being in the mid-20s, my thought is, why is that? You know, you guys love the game, I love the game. So why would your body not allow you, or why wouldn't competition allow you to keep going? And so my hope and my goal is, not just with this presentation, but in the overall spectrum, to find ways to increase the longevity that you all could play. And even if it is on a professional level, or even if it's just as simple as being able to play against, you know, your future children when they turn 12 or something like that, to show them, you know, who's still boss on the sticks, or, you know, anything like that. So those things are very key and important. And just by maintaining physical fitness, you can increase that, which also brings us to our next point, which is stronger musculoskeletal support. So just as the word says, this system is just a combination of two systems: your muscular system and your skeletal system. And that's everything. So you have everything else inside you. So you have your organs, you have different tissues, and different things that make up your inner being. But what supports you physically as you're standing or as you're sitting is your musculoskeletal support system. So this has to do with your posture and so many other things. And in order to be able to maintain a healthy lifestyle or just physical fitness for this sport, you want to make sure you have a strong musculoskeletal support. So that means making sure you have a strong back to support you for those hours of gameplay. You want to make sure you have shoulders that can support you. So then that way, when you're paying attention to your posture, you're not slumped over, because all those things make a difference when it comes to fatigue. Another important thing about how exercise can help increase your game is that it also increases cognitive function and fine motor skills. So just to break that down a little bit, cognitive function is it's going to help you with your decision making. So we all know, especially when playing in like team sports, that you have to have a game plan in order for you to even, you know, go with the gameplay or any type of strategy that you have, or, you know, whether you're switching weapons or things like that. That's all part of your cognitive function and how quick you make those decisions. So exercise actually helps with that, believe it or not. And it also helps with your fine motor skills. So fine motor skills are everything that you do with your hands. So those are those intricate movements. So whether it's writing, whether it's hitting numerous buttons at a time, all those things have to do with your hands. And those are very intricate movements. And you want to make sure that your body and your hands are able to endure it for so many times. Because how many times have we just shaken our hand out because our hand was tired? You know, so all these things will make a difference. And, you know, as we continue to progress and grow in our relationship as an association, and with my relationship with you all, my hope is to find ways to help you get exercises and practice stretches and things like that can help increase your endurance and increase your fine motor skills. And then lastly, it increases secretion of feel-good juices, as I like to call them. So feel-good juices are those things such as endorphins. So people talk about it all the time. Oh, I like to work out in the morning to get my endorphins up. You know, those are also the chemical hormones such as dopamine and serotonin that are released to the brain, and they're commonly released through the brain after you exercise or even during exercise. So when it comes to gameplay, you know, you want to have positive feelings, because positive feelings leads to positive gameplay. And it actually reminds me of what soon-to-be doctor, I remember she said, Monique Turner, for those of you who were in the last presentation for the psychological aspect, she talked about emotions and she talked about the mental state of being. And, you know, the psychological aspect of things goes in hand with the physical aspect of things, because some of those emotions are played against on whether or not you have burned off certain energy, whether that energy is aggression or anger, or whether that energy is something, you know, else. You know, you want to get those positive hormones going and secreted. So with that being said, I can't talk about all those things about how you can improve your game without letting you know the opposite, which is how gaming affects the body. So before we get deep into this slide, I want everybody to do me a quick favor real quick. So we're going to utilize the chat box. I'm going to try to pull it up after you guys do so. I want you to take your age and I want you to subtract your age by 220 and then put that answer in the chat box for me. But keep that number in mind. So for example, if you're 20, you're going to subtract 20 from 220, the answer will be 200. I'm going to give folks a minute to do that. All right, I see Lorenzo 20, I see 199, 196. All right, cool. So keep these numbers in mind. So now that you have this number, we'll take 196, for example. Excuse me, we'll actually take 200. It's an easier number for everybody. So 200, example for Lorenzo, if you don't mind me using you as an example, this will be considered your maximum heart rate. Meaning you don't want your heart at any point in time to exceed 200 beats per minute, because if it begins to exceed 200 beats per minute, then you are actually getting, excuse me, I didn't want to go to the next slide just yet. If it's actually beating 200 beats per minute, you are now reaching your max heart rate, and you don't necessarily want to continue to do that, because the thing is that your average resting heart rate as an adult is 60 to 100 beats per minute, just as I have here. So one thing to keep in mind, and the reason why this is so crucial, is because when you exercise, your heart rate could actually increase to approximately 160 to 180 beats per minute. So if you're already at 200, you're very close to what your maximum heart rate is if you get it elevated to 180. Now, granted, you're not there, but if you take somebody who may not be as well of shape, it's going to put a lot of stress on the heart. You don't necessarily want that. And another reason why this is so important is because when you think about a highly trained endurance athlete, so let's take somebody like Michael Phelps, as an Olympic swimmer, or maybe even Alyse Felix, who, does track and she does like the 400 and things like that. So a highly trained endurance athlete, their resting heart rate is only going to be, or can be potentially, about 40 to 60 beats per minute, which is significantly different than the average resting heart rate, like mine, for example, because I'm not a highly trained endurance athlete. So I'm closer to the 60 to 100 beats per minute. So the reason why this is crucial, and I'm really trying to drive this point in, is because it lets us know that a lower heart rate actually implies better cardiovascular fitness and therefore better heart function. So you want to be able to have better heart function so you don't have as much stress and pressure up on the body and on the heart. And just to give you an idea of what 160 to maybe even 180 beats per minute feels like, it's as if you're going to run a mile as fast as you can. Imagine what your heart rate will feel after that mile. Or say it's even equivalent to like a race car driver, NASCAR, when they're going around the track, that adrenaline rush that they get from going around the track, their heart rate increases to that level. And so another reason why this is important is because you don't necessarily want to have this being done, because an elevated heart rate, and the reason why I don't want to have this done is because this elevated heart rate is actually occurring while sitting down. So let's not forget the gaming position that we're in. The gaming position that we're in is a position that many of us are sitting in right now. So if your heart rate increases to this high amount while sitting, then just imagine the tension that you're putting in your body days and weeks on end. So that brings me to my next point, which is that another effect that gaming has on the body is the amount of cortisol that is released into the blood. So cortisol is a stress hormone. And so because it is a stress hormone, because it is a stress hormone, and because exercise is a stress, now you have a double whammy. You have an elevated heart rate, elevated cortisol in the blood, a double stress in your heart and on your body. Now take this scenario and put it on a person who does not work out at all. Somebody who has a sedentary lifestyle, who doesn't work out, maybe they just walk to, the car and back, different things like that. It's going to be a lot on the body. So we want to make sure we're paying attention to these things, because they can have numerous effects on the body. In addition to that, there's such things such as fatigue. So we have eye fatigue and physical fatigue. How many times have we just, kind of like rubbed our eyes when staring at the screen, or, tried to roll our neck or our shoulders back because they are fatigued, or tired. Another effect on the body is overuse syndrome. So overuse is something that is very real. The common areas that are overused in the body by gamers is the hand, wrist, elbow, neck, and back. So if you think about it when you're playing, those are usually the problem areas. Those are usually the areas that you're trying to stretch out. Those are usually the areas you're trying to roll out in between the game resetting. Okay, so we really want to pay attention to these things, because if not, they could lead to common injuries in esports and just in gaming overall, which we'll take a look at in a few slides. Another effect on the body is insomnia. So one thing is the sleep hormone melatonin. So too much blue light could actually suppress the sleep hormone melatonin in your body. So now think about the amount of blue light that you take in on a daily basis. So we take it in from our laptops and computer screens. And if you play games on the computer, you're taking in the blue light then say you're on Instagram scrolling through, say it's the middle of the fall or spring semester, close to midterms or finals, you're on the screen again. So much blue light that you're taking in. And so it can suppress the sleep hormone melatonin. And so think about all those nights that you're up late nights, so 2, 3 in the morning gaming. It was like, I can't sleep. This could be very much so a reason why, because it could be affecting the sleep hormone melatonin in your body. So that's something to keep in mind too. And then lastly, it decreases blood circulation from prolonged sitting. So when you're sitting, sometimes you rest your arms on your legs. It's going to cut off blood circulation, which could lead to blood clots or a number of other things. And God forbid you're somebody who may be pre-diabetic or have diabetes. It could lead to so many other things, which we don't want. So with that being said, let's go on over to the next slide. So at this point in time, now that I've drilled this information into you, my hope is that you're now thinking, what can I do to strengthen my performance? Like, I hope you're saying, okay, I get it, Alyse, you talked about it. Now tell me what I can do. We all want the quick answer. So this is it right here. So my advice will be, like we said in the beginning, diet, exercise, and sleep. So this is so key, because diet is a thing that I like to say is going to start the process. Exercise is something that's going to increase the process. So when keep in mind, the question is, how do I strengthen my performance? So eating is going to start it, diet is going to start it, exercise is going to increase it, and sleep is going to maintain it. So sleep is like the moisture on an envelope. It's going to seal the deal for everything. All right, so keep that in mind. So when it comes to eating, you want to have a nutrient-rich diet, not junk food. I know it's so common as young people, as us as young people, and just Americans and stuff in general, to either go for the junk food or to go to the game day snacks. That's a real thing. Hashtag game day snacks. We have things like that, but we really want to be mindful of what we're putting into our body, because it all is going to affect how we perform, including when gaming. So we don't want to have, the Red Bulls, the 5-hour energies, the Ruffles chips and, Doritos and everything else like that, because it's not going to give us much nutritional value, because your body is like a machine. That's how I want you to look at it. So we want to give our body the proper fuel that it needs. So, they always talk about the difference between high quality gas and low quality gas. You want to give your body high quality gas, such as protein. Protein is going to help with better muscle recovery. It also is going to aid in positive hormone regulation. So keep in mind, one of those hormones we talked about earlier was cortisol. It's a stress hormone. All right. So next, exercise. So we already know it increases endurance. Like I mentioned earlier, it's going to enhance musculoskeletal support and flexibility. And flexibility is so key, and it's going to make a world of a difference when it comes to your posture. And posture, I have a whole slide to posture. There's actually, posture is something that's so important. There's a whole field dedicated to posture, and that's ergonomics. And that's so key, especially because our gaming position is sitting. So posture is everything. So also greater immune support exercise is going to help, because believe it or not, cortisol, as we talked about, a stress hormone, impacts your antibodies. So and antibodies have to do with like your immune system support. So the thing is, if you think about it like this, if cortisol suppresses antibodies, and if your immune system uses antibodies to help you build up your good health, then elevated stress, whether it be from stress in life, stress in a game, or whatever the case may be, is going to affect this. So if you ever had a friend or yourself or a loved one who gets sick when they get stressed out, this is the exact reason why, because cortisol, as a stress hormone, suppresses these things and it inhibits it. So you want to make sure that you're mindful of, again, your psychological well-being and exercise, because exercise helps build up antibodies, therefore it builds up your immune system. And what we don't want is anybody sick before a competition, anybody sick before a game, nobody sick in practice, because especially, right now we're not engaging with each other physically, but what if we get back to campus and we're all in whatever beautiful location we have, where, you know, esports will be established on campus and we're all in there, and then boom, code. And then next Friday, they have competition. Who's feeling their best? Nobody performs their best when they're feeling their worst. So exercise is something that can help this. And then, like I said, sleep is that moisture. It just seals the deal. So it improves memory, it increases concentration, and it aids better decision making. Just how I talked about on the other slide when we talked about cognitive function. All right, let's move on. So with that being said, athletic injuries in esports are real, and I cannot stress this enough. And the scary part is, well, I don't want to say scary, but one of the interesting things I would say is that because esports, it's already been a very popular thing. It's already been, you know, it's already worldwide. But the thing is, injuries have not necessarily been looked at or been taken as serious, because the thing is, we don't see it. So when you compare yourself to somebody who is a football player or a basketball player or a soccer player, you see the kick to the shin, you see the twisted ankle, you see the head-to-head collision, you see those injuries happen before your eyes, whether it's on an instant replay or not. You see it. Sometimes you unfortunately hear it. You know, you see those effects. But with esports and with gamers overall, we don't necessarily see those injuries. You don't see somebody's elbow just give out on them. You know, nothing catastrophic happens to where it's going to shock you or make you believe something serious just happened. So the reason why I use the word scary at first is because it could be a scary thing because it sneaks up on you. And sometimes nobody else will ever know but you. You know, how many times do we ignore that pain that we're feeling in our neck? Or how many times do we not express to somebody that our elbow's bothering us? You know, we could be shaking out or shaking our arm, and our friend may say, "You all right?" And you're like, "Oh yeah, I'm good." You know, how many times do we confess to those things that we are feeling? So it's very important that we pay attention to them, because again, athletic injuries and esports are real. So posture is something I want to get into now just a little bit, because posture, again, is everything, especially in the world of gaming. So, and it's important because it's going to reduce unnecessary stress and strain on the body. And that's so key. So I want to say that again because it is so key. Posture is going to reduce unnecessary stress and strain on the body. So with that being said, let's take a look at upper cross syndrome and lower cross syndrome. So with these two here, you can kind of see the notes that I have here. But with the young lady in this position, her neck is protruding out. Her shoulders are a little rounded. I'm gonna try to stand at an angle too. So her neck is sticking out. Her shoulders are a little rounded. So with that being said, she's concaving. So it's gonna affect the amount of air that she's able to take in into her lungs because her shoulders are not back. The other thing that's happening with her neck in this position, she's gonna have weakened neck muscles in the back of her neck. So in this position, you're extended. In this position, you're flexed. So you have muscles that help you flex your neck, which is to bring your neck back. So say, for example, you're like, what? And you gotta, you know, pull your neck back. It's gonna weaken those muscles that allow you to do that. Or even those exaggerated movements we do, and we're like, oh my goodness. You know, those muscles are gonna be weakened in the back of your neck because you are protruding. So now, when you think about this, think about how many times you're so into the game, you're now sticking your neck out and looking like this. And so it's gonna be over exaggerated. So there's a number of things that can happen here. And one thing I want to point out is that extreme cases of upper cross syndrome could actually lead to the lungs, like I mentioned, not being able to fill up with air. And I have somebody that you all may know, a picture of him in the next slide that will actually point this out to you. So lower cross syndrome. So in extreme cases, it can cause protruding, it can cause your stomach to protrude a bit. And so you all may have seen this, but sometimes people can't quite show you from this virtual world that we're in, but their back will lean a little bit back and their stomach will protrude out. And it really emphasizes this point right here where the curve is on the back. So it causes the hips to have an anterior tilt. Now this position is going to be bad because it's going to put so much pressure on your lower spine and so many other areas of your body. So again, this is why posture is so important. And I'll have some pictures for us to help kind of identify in a real setting what this looks like on the physical body. All right, so these are some of the common gaming injuries. So some of you, I hope not. And if so, you know, you can let me know if you want to talk about it now or in the future or anything like that. But these are some of the common gaming injuries people suffer. So carpal tunnel syndrome. So one thing I want to point out with carpal tunnel is that it affects everywhere, just as a side note, everywhere you see like a red dot hovering, this is where the point of pain is. So note that. So in this position, the person's hand, if you guys can kind of see me still, the person's hand is out. So if it's affecting this area that's shaded in the gray, when that person closes their hand, now imagine you having a gaming remote control in your hand. This position, when you rotate it, is now the position that you're in. Keep in mind, these two fingers, your middle finger and index finger, are now like your L2 and your like L1 buttons. You know, the thumb is always going to be in game plan action. So if you're holding controlling your hand, it's going to affect you, and even when you're typing. So for those of you who actually, play video games with the keyboard, typing, this is a common injury and something that a lot of people who work in an office setting suffer from. So for those of you who game on a computer, God forbid this is something that you feel, but this is something, if you do feel it, there are ways that we could help, but there also are ways that we could prevent it. And my goal is to kind of, as things go on, find ways to, teach you how to autocorrect yourself. Mouse elbow, also known as tennis elbow, also known as gamer's elbow. You're going to have pain right here in your elbow. So if you find yourself shaking your elbow out, if you find yourself trying to get blood flowing to it or different things, it's that annoying feeling. I have to admit, I felt it, or I feel it sometimes when I'm on my laptop too long, when I'm in school doing a paper. And then, for me, I work in an office setting. So I'm at work for my 8-hour shift. I'm in school. So then I turn around and I'm doing research in a paper. My arm gets fatigued. My arm gets tired. So some of you may also have the same feeling here. Another common one is gamer's thumb. You could already imagine what that feels like and what's being required for that pain to kind of take place. And that's just that repetitive motion. Because one thing to note, which is actually very, very intriguing, is that the average gamer has about 500 clicks per minute. So just let that sit in. It's only 60 seconds in a minute. So if it's only 60 seconds in a minute, the average gamer has about 500 actions in a minute. Not just with the thumb, but with all 5 fingers. That's ridiculously fast movement. So now of that percentage, how many of those actions or keystrokes are your thumb? Keep that in mind. So when it comes to gamer's thumb, it's the reason why when, you're going old school and you're playing something like a GameCube where you're doing something a little bit new and you're doing like a Nintendo Switch Lite or something like that, your thumb is getting tired. Now, these are those same thumbs that you use when you're texting. So this thumb is getting a lot of work, which takes us back to our point of overuse syndrome. So you're overusing it when you're texting, when you're scrolling on Instagram or Snapchat or anything like that. You're using it when you're gaming, and you're using it in so many other daily activities of life. And so it can lead to tendonitis, arthritis, so many other things. So it's so important for us to find ways to actually stretch our hands. So I recommend, hand stretches, pulling your hand back, pulling your hand to the side, different things like that. Doing the same thing with your thumb, pulling it back, pulling it down, different things. So then that way you are stretching them and they're not always in a flex position, okay? Another common one is eye strain. Eye strain, you already know what that is. So it's just like I don't have to really explain so much what that feels like because we all have felt it in some form or fashion. But keep in mind what we talked about earlier with blue light and different things that could really affect it. But there's so many muscles in your eyes. So even though we just see eyeballs, there's so many muscles behind the eye that cause it to blink and do so many other things that those things get fatigued and tired too. So everything gets a little tired. And so it's important for us to rest often, including our eyes. All right, so these two people you may or may not be familiar with. So on the left-hand side, we have from Team Fanatic. Can I get a nod if anybody is familiar with either of these faces? All right, cool. I see a couple nods. So I don't know if either of you or any of you are familiar with this story, but he actually has kinesio tape right here. I don't know if you can see my mouse hovering, but this is kinesio tape that he has on his elbow. Why? Because he suffered from tennis elbow. All right, so that's one of the things we talked about before. So it actually impeded his ability to really play and compete. I believe it was in Korea. Yeah, I actually have it here. In South Korea. So they were out there training for a boot camp and they had a competition and they were not able to, he wasn't able to perform to his best that game. And just overall, even with practices, because his elbow was bothering him so much. Now, we do have things such as kinesio tape that can help, but my overall goal is to not get to that point to where we need it or have to use it. My goal is preventative measures. You know, if we need to use it, great, it's there for us. It's a great resource and tool to use. But, you know, for example, who wants to wear knee braces if we don't have to? What if we could fix it on our own? What if we could prevent some of these things on our own? All right, same thing with the picture on the right. We talked about collapsed lungs earlier. So I commend, I super commend his dedication to the game when it comes to having his, everything set up in his hospital room. I don't know if that would be what I would recommend as, I don't know, a friend, a parent, a teammate, or anything like that. Like, I commend his dedication, but at the same time, one of the biggest things that happened is that he actually had a collapsed lung. And this took place, I believe, in Paris. And I want to say it was 2017, I want to say. But when we talked about that upper cross syndrome, you know, one of the reasons why the lungs collapse is because he was not able to consistently get enough air to fill up in his lungs. And so because of that, with his shoulders being concave and not back, the lungs after so long eventually collapse. So this isn't a one-time thing. This is something that happens over time, which again, why posture is everything. All right, so this is just something to bring it home to you a little bit. And this doesn't just happen to pro players. This can happen to anybody. You know, pro players, yeah, they may practice up to 8 to 12 hours a day, but how many of us still spend our weekends, you know, maybe gaming like 4 to 6 hours a day? You know, you never know, especially when you're practicing or doing it on your own just for fun. The hours and the minutes clock up. So it's important that we pay attention to these things. All right, so the next thing I want to do here is I want to kind of do a little bit more engagement. Let's utilize the chat box again. So let's take a look at these pictures. And I want you to let me know if any of one of these you identify with. Like, what's your gaming position? Like, be real, be honest. What's your gaming position? And if it's none of these, be like, oh, I'm good. None of the above. And if it's 3 of these, be like, I'm like 4 of them. You know, it just depends. So let me know. E or B, mostly E. C, D, E, E. Oh, that is a very popular position. Okay, cool. D. All right. All right, cool. So I have to admit, you know, I even put myself in this equation. Let me take the chat off. I'm usually D. I'm not even gonna lie. Game face, in it, locked in, D. I have to admit it's me as well. But what I want to say with this, like I have up top, good health starts with good posture. Let's improve it. And I'm not taking I out of the equation. You know, even though I am in the field of kinesiology, even though I am preaching these things to you, you know, I have a body that loves the same comfortable positions you all love. You know, good posture takes work. You know, eating right takes work. It all takes a conscious effort. It's always so easy for us to do the things that come natural. You know, but what we want to do is make those things that are hard to do the natural thing to do, because eventually it'll become easy. So a couple things I want to point out in some of these pictures. So in A, my man here, his neck is sticking out. The laptop is not eye level. One thing you always want to have is the computer screen eye level. You know, so this is not the most positive position to be in. This hump in his back, this could eventually lead to something known as kyphosis. So we all know about the hunchback of Notre Dame, or is it Notre Dame? I can't quite remember his name or Dame, but we all are familiar with him. And so this could eventually lead to that. And we don't want that. We don't want anybody walking around with a hunchback, you know, in their 30s, 40s, 70s, or anything like that. So it's good to pull back, open up. My man right here in B, he is so in it, but there are so many things that I would say are wrong, including the position of his hands on the keyboard. You want to be in a restful position. This is going to cause so much pain with due time. His neck, we talked about that upper cross. He's going to have his neck flexor muscles are going to be so weakened. The computer, he's looking down at it. You know, he's not using the back support that he has. It's there to support us. So let's lean on that support that provides us support. You know, that's what a support system is. We're supposed to lean on those things, even if that thing is a chair. It's there for a reason. You know, C and D is a common thing. I'm going to talk about D particularly. how his arms are resting on his legs. That's something that could actually cut off blood circulation and cut off blood flow. We don't necessarily want that because we want that blood to keep flowing. We need the oxygen. We need all those hormones. We need all those things that's going to flow through our blood. Our blood is a carrier of so many things. Okay, so we want that to continue to flow. Another thing that it flows through it is our energy source. You know, you might have heard about words such as glycogen and things like that. We don't want that cutting off or impeding us in any way. And by leaning on his legs, it's going to eventually impede the blood flow and circulation. Okay, and then right here, E. This guy is like my favorite, but his shoulders are so high up, the desk is literally too high for him. So if he has to already have his shoulders up, that's a key sign that the desk is too high. So you want to have it level out. You don't want to have, you want to be able to lower your shoulders and not elevate them just to play. Same thing, his neck is sticking up and out and things along that nature. So that's something to keep in mind. This right here, if you guys want to jot this down, I'll even put it in the chat box afterwards. I don't want to click out of it since I am sharing my screen. I don't want to mess up anything, but this actually has an opportunity for you to put into actually evaluate your gaming posture. And it also has an opportunity for you to take a quiz to see which one you are and how to autocorrect. They also have on their website another link that can show you ways that you can prevent injuries and some common esports injuries. So if you feel something, I don't want to say it's like a WebMD, and I don't encourage WebMD, but it gives you a good idea of what you're feeling and how to identify what you're feeling. Okay, so with that being said, I cannot end this without giving you some tips to go walk away with. So this is something I actually made up. I'm really excited about it. I personally think it's really cool. So these are easy ways to increase flexibility and overall physical fitness while gaming. Keyword, while gaming. So this is a 60-20 workout and a 60-20 standoff. I would love to have posted somewhere in our arena whenever we have it set up at Dominguez Hills as just friendly reminders for people to participate in. So each, whether you're doing the 60-20 workout or the 60-20 standoff, it will only take you literally 2 to 3 minutes to complete this exercise. So if you do this, or maybe even walk around the house 6 times, you just want to have some type of mobility while gaming. So here, all these exercises can be modified. So you have high knees. You could do it in a standing position, just elevating one knee after the other, or you could do it in a jogging or a trotting position. Half jacks, which are basically jumping jacks without the arms, calf raises, and so forth. 20, 20, 20. I have it here as 10 because tricep dips are a little strenuous for those who are not used to doing them, but everything can be modified. And if you have questions about that, just let me know. Same thing with these stretches. Flexibility is something that's so core and key. So we have the dynamic chest stretch. All these pictures here you can do. So it doesn't take much to get out your chair. Just do them. And like I said, each one will take only about 2 to 3 minutes. If you did them both, take about 5 minutes. And if you walked around the house maybe 6 times, give it another minute or 2, and then boom. You don't have to even, go to the gym or anything like that to start beginning your physical fitness routine and just getting into better shape. So that will conclude everything that I have to say to you all. I hope you all learned something. I hope you all enjoyed it. And if you all have any questions or curiosities, please let's shoot them off and let's talk.
You make me scared to play games anymore.
I don't want to do that. It's just a matter of making sure that we're mindful of our body. And, a portion of it is exercise, but another portion of it is really eating, even getting into what I was talking about with, junk food. And I'm gonna just say this, I'm gonna give you guys the mic back. Even like eating and junk food and different things, and a well-balanced diet, certain things in our body. So we all heard about like amino acids in school and stuff like that. So there are some things in our body that are made on their own, they're endogenous, and there are some that are not. Some things that we need to help us have that fuel and stuff like that comes only from eating. So there's like 8 amino acids that we have to get into our body from eating foods such as proteins, fruits and vegetables and things like that. So even when it comes to gaming and physical fitness, because it's 3 things, proper nutrition, sleep, and exercise, you can begin it right then, easy peasy. It's not all about the physical aspect of it, it's the overall thing. So don't be scared, just, stretch a little bit, have your good snacks by your side, and, blink and rest, and then just keep going. I do the same thing all the time.
All right, noted.
All right, so any questions, feel free to put them in a chat box, or if you want to, just blurt them out, I'm here. If you have any curiosity, comments, anything.
I have a question.
Yeah.
Do you recommend ergonomic chairs or gaming chairs, and why?
It's a good question. I would say it depends on your body type and your style of play. So both are very good. The gaming chairs are very supportive. It's all about how you adjust the chair. So if your gaming chair has ways that you could adjust it, just because you have an ergonomic chair or a gaming chair and you sit in it, doesn't mean that it's 100% good for you at that time. So, excuse me, I'm gonna exit out the screen so I can kind of see you guys a little bit better as we talk. Stop sharing. All right, there we go. So yeah, it's all about whether or not you adjust it. So if you sit down in a chair, it's not always a one size fits all. You want to make sure it's elevated to where your feet are in perfect position to the floor. You want to have about, if you put your fingers underneath, you want to have about 4 fingers width between the back of your seat and your knee. So like where your thigh stops at the edge of the chair and your knee begins, you want to have a little bit of space in between there. You want to make sure your back is able to be pressed against the back of it, and your tailbone and your coccyx is all the way back. So if you're able to do that in a gaming chair, beautiful. And there's a couple other tips and things that I would recommend, but if you're able to do that in a gaming chair and adjust it, then I'm all for the gaming chair. And if you're able to do that in an ergonomic chair, go for it. So both are cool. It always just depends on how you adjust it to you and your needs.
All right, thank you.
Mm-hmm. Anybody else? Anything? Comment, question, curiosity, fun facts, anything.
I got a question. So can bad posture give you like chronic permanent problems?
Yes.
Is it like reversible, like with just taking up great posture, or
because the body, everything in you is made up of muscles. So muscles can be stretched. Think about it right now. Are you very good at touching your toes right now?
No, not at all.
If I told you to practice touching your toes for every day for 6 weeks, you'll probably surpass being able to just touch your toes. In 6 weeks, if you did it every day, they'll probably come back and be like, oh, Elise, check me out. My hands, palms, everything are on the floor. Boom. So it all just depends. So when it comes to, can it be corrected? Yes, it might be painful, or I wouldn't even say it might be. It will be painful. That same pain you feel in your hamstrings from them being so tight is that same pain you're going to feel from your shoulders being like this to being like this to this to this. So it is fixable, but what we want to do now is pay attention to it now. So when you come to the age of like 40, 50, 60 plus, you don't have these issues or problems, because things such as kyphosis, that's not something that you could fix easily like you can your posture now. All right, so if anybody doesn't have any other questions, and it's no big deal, my hope is that we could eventually continue to dive deeper into conversations like such. I think something like ergonomics is a topic that we could talk about in one setting alone, different tips and tricks that you could do to better your posture. One recommendation I would actually give, especially if you play majority of your games on a computer, I would recommend having a sit-stand desk. So there's so many beautiful things that could happen by just standing and giving your body a break. Because if you're sitting for so long, it can stop. I don't want to say stop, but it could inhibit so many things from functioning and flowing like you need them to, such as your blood. It will slow down the rate of your blood flow. Your legs take up 1/3 of your body. So if you're sitting in a chair and you're leaning forward, like the position in D in that picture, you're cutting off your blood circulation a little bit to 1/3 of your body. So just imagine if you took the same game that you're playing and you set up your TV, your monitor, your computer, whatever the case may be, onto a sit-stand platform. And now you're standing, you have blood circulation easily flowing throughout your body, and you're able to make like little adjustments and things like that. So that's something I'll recommend. And even if you can't afford or get or have the space or capacity for a sit-stand desk, bootleg it. You know, take a couple, like, you know, that Amazon purchase that you just got in the mail not so long ago. Keep the box before you take it out to the recycle bin. You know, keep the box, put it on a table. You know what I mean? If you need to get whatever the case may be, stack those things up so then that way your computer monitor becomes eye level, or it gives you that opportunity. You know, eye level if you're sitting or if you're standing. It gives you that opportunity to stretch your legs. When you're standing, you naturally shift your body weight from time to time. You naturally shake out your legs and different things like that. So there's so many little things you can do while gaming that can make like a super world of a difference. So cool. Thank y'all. I super appreciate the opportunity to talk to y'all. I hope y'all learned something. I hope y'all are excited and motivated.
Yeah, that was very informative.
Cool. I'm glad.
Excellent. Thank you everybody for tuning in. For those who are in the session now, and for those who will get a chance to see this recording, thank you, Alyse, for just giving us your time and giving us some important tips and pointers and educating us too, especially when we get onto the computer and start the gaming elements of it. So thanks again.
My pleasure.
All right, excellent. And Yusuf, thank you so much for managing. Did a wonderful job as always.
No problem, man.
All righty. Well, that concludes it. Thank you so much, and hope to catch you all in the next health and wellness session segment. And stay healthy, positive mindset as best as possible. Thanks again.
Bye, everybody.
Thank you.
Later.
Everyone.
Later.
Thank
Take
you.
care, everyone. Later.
Okay, everybody, that's been another session here with CSUDH Esports on health and awareness. I hope it was very informative and you guys enjoyed viewing. We will have this video also up on our YouTube channel. But in the meantime, go ahead and visit our website to find out a lot more about our organization and association. You can contact us. You can check out our teams and media and whatnot. And go ahead and visit our Twitch channel, our Twitter channel, and drop a follow. Thank you very much and have a good day. Bye.